Rolling on, just stay tight, we have to go. Stay with me while we leave. Don't worry, just believe me. This journey will relieve us. Stay with me while we leave. Stay with me while we leave. Don't worry, just believe me. This journey will relieve us. Stay with me. Stay with me while we leave. Don't worry, just believe me. This journey will relieve us. Stay with me while we leave. Stay with me while we leave. Don't worry, just believe me. This journey will relieve us. Stay with me while we leave. Stay with me.
Hello, and we are back with some League of Legends gameplay.
All right, we're gonna cut straight into the picks and bans phase. We are going to be having, Custom Elite and,
Custom Elite and Final Light, I believe.
okay, so we got some powerhouses in this match right here, and they've already started with their picks and bans. So far we've had Darius, Fiora, and Ivern banned out for the blue team. And Vlad and Lee Sin and looks like Lulu is going to round out our picks for Custom Elite.
It seems that based off the bans so far, on the red side, we are definitely seeing some very heavy bans towards that top lane. It looks like they either have a specific pick that they're looking for, or else they are trying to do some targeted bans against Elite's top laner.
Right. Oh, and it looks like we start off with a Xayah and a Kled, which I'm already not liking Custom Elite's team comp.
That is honestly very interesting because Zaya is someone who very frequently and very adeptly falls back in fights and then turns them around, whereas Kled is very, very heavy engaged, just like Amumu. And Lux, on the other hand, follows a very similar playstyle to Zaya. It's a very mixed bag with Elite, but we are seeing some very consistent pick styles with an Enchanter support, with a regular ranged ADC, Caitlyn for a lot of pick potential. Very good synergy with the Ahri as well,
Right.
because with that charm you are able to land such good CC as you have a predictable path that you are able to consistently land. Nautilus with the full tank, able to get the engage. Graves jungle, that's what I'm actually a little worried about for them, because with a Graves jungle, you're not going to have the durability on your side. Now, I realize that that Elite is not necessarily the most durable team themselves, but they do have two people that have a higher durability markers with Kled and Amumu, whereas there is one very, very tanky person for Final Light, but the rest of their team could easily fall prey to a catch by the Amumu where Lux is able to quickly burst them out.
Right. So it's going to be interesting. Like in terms of both teams, there's quite a bit of outright fighting potential on Final Light, with their Nautilus acting as their tank line and Graves being up front, throwing out as much damage as he possibly can. Ahri and Caitlyn are going to be trying to pick out targets of interest, while Nami is keeping everyone going. I would call that pretty much a standard team composition.
Very standard.
Custom Elite, though, with the way that their team kind of set up, where the Amumu was pretty much in the front line, along with the Kled, both of those guys being super tanky, Rakan doing his shield and generally being built, like some of his best matches have been having him built as an AP tank.
Yeah.
They have quite a strong front line to make sure that people can't necessarily get through. Zaya not necessarily being able to retreat all that well, and Lux not necessarily being able to run all that fast. It makes that composition essentially into a fortress, in my opinion.
Yeah, it seems that very much what they're doing is looking for the enemy team with that Nautilus to make a play at them, and then using that Kled ult to try to get to the back line or try to help stop the front line from getting away, whereas Amumu can just use his massive game-changing ult that literally entangles the entire enemy team. They can't even auto-attack. Spellcasters can still cast, but with an Ahri that isn't going to make as much of a difference as, say, a Ryze or a Cassiopeia.
Right, and combine that with Amumu's new passive.
Yes.
Doing more damage or allowing more damage to be done to the people around him. Combining that with Lux and her insanely high burst potential, and Rakan's ult even.
Yes.
It's gonna be pretty dangerous for Final Light to do anything, in all honesty.
Yeah, they're going to have to set up a siege and take it very slow and steady with that Caitlyn frontlining for them and making sure that they aren't able to get that engage with Amumu. Because that engage with Amumu, when you couple that with Lux ult, especially with the recent Lux changes where when she kills someone with her ult, part of its cooldown gets refunded, meaning it's back up and able to be used as such a powerful game-changing ability more and more frequently. If this Lux builds 45% cooldown reduction and hits an ult at level 3, that's an additional 40% cooldown refunded, knocking the cooldown to a mere 14 seconds between uses. That's as long as some of the abilities other champs have. That's like about the cooldown of a Nautilus shield.
Is that an ult at that point? Is that still an ult, or is that like a normal skill at that point? Because 14 seconds, like you said, there have been champions that have longer cooldowns on their basic abilities. So we could be seeing multiple Lux ults in one fight if things line up the right way.
Absolutely. What they are going to need to do for Final Light is they are going to definitely need to make sure that they can get on that Lux and stop the chain of Lux being able to pick so many people apart when that Amumu ults. You have to either make sure that Amumu cannot engage on you, which is an extremely difficult task, or make sure to take Ahri and get through the lines in order to pick that Lux before the fight even starts.
Right.
And that's completely ignoring the possible damage and roots that Xayah has with her ult. When she can encounter the engage of a team, when you have that Nautilus ult the Xayah, when it's about to hit her, she can activate her ult, making her invulnerable and untargetable when that massive CC would normally affect her.
Right.
This is a huge game changer.
I'm going to say, combining that also with the fact that Lux and Xayah actually have a pretty strong amount of poke. Whenever Xayah does an ability, she actually throws feathers out, and those feathers go through every enemy that happens to be in the path of that arrow. There's a massive amount of poke, there's a massive amount of defense, and it can turn into a pretty terrifying situation for Final Light if they aren't able to, if Ahri's not able to maneuver around and get the picks that are necessary to keep them alive in team fights. And it looks like we might be getting ready to have some fun right off the bat.
We are actually having some technical difficulties. There is currently an invade, but unfortunately we have, for some reason, the camera has not switched to the in-game, and we're not exactly sure why that is. Give us just a few moments to figure that out as we are trying to get that transition in order to get that working. But the commands are being a little rough on us right now.
It should just do it automatically.
We are having some issues, so please excuse this technical disruption. Currently, though, no massive damage or invades have occurred. What is happening is both teams are setting up inside their own jungles. Both seem to be starting on the bot half of the jungle, looking to take that red buff for the blue side and the blue buff for the red side. Apologies about that. We are jumping in now as the buffs are just starting to fall and the minions are just about to hit the lanes. As you can see, with the Amumu grabbing the blue buff early, he's hoping to make sure he has that mana sustain to clear his jungle quickly with his W ability. Meanwhile, the Kled is trying to add some aggro top lane to try to get that advantage.
I'm saying, all right, we're looking at this bot lane matchup. Got Xayah and Rakan versus Caitlyn and Nami. You know, Caitlyn and Nami are pretty standard. I'm going to say sustain and poke. Kind of the same thing with Rakan and Xayah, except I think Nami has a much higher sustain potential than Rakan in this situation. Rakan's really going to start shining once he gets his ult though, but Nami also has a lot of disengage. So while those two constantly, or pretty much want to go in pretty consistently, we should not necessarily expect too much to happen on the bot lane front until someone decides to come through and potentially gank, I think.
Absolutely. As far as poke aggro goes, the blue side bot lane does have a massive advantage with that Nami and with the Caitlyn. They both are excellent champions at poking. However, the Nami will be very hard pressed this game to land any sort of CC on the red side support. With Rakan's massive mobility in his W's jump to enemies to knock them up, as well as his E's escape to his ally Xayah, which has an absolutely enormous range because of their synergy.
Oh, it looks like there might be a first kill up in top. It looks like Kled flash, but Graves flashes with him and gets that first blood. Now things are kind of heating up. Looks like Caitlyn might actually get this kill, but Rakan comes through and knocks up Caitlyn before she's able to finish off Xayah. I'd say very close.
Absolutely, and it seems that the bot lane for red side has definitely suffered a lot because of that. And with that Nautilus able to get the assist on the Kled so early. Oh, and it seems that there is a play being made in mid lane.
And Lux just lived by the very tip of her tongue, I guess. I don't know what to really say, but the charm just barely ran out right as it got to her. That would have led to a pretty ugly situation and potentially the Lux would have had to change her playing style. Let's just say that.
Absolutely, because an early kill on Ari or even an early assist with her just adds so much kill pressure to that already very bully lane.
Yeah.
Lux and Ari both are champions that need to stay clear of minions in order to hit the majority or the most potent parts of their aggro, being their hard CC in Lux's root and Ari's charm, which means they both have to play in a similar way to each other, which means if you get a slight advantage, that sets the match